So the lesson is order of words and clauses. So let us have a look at these two sentences. English is my first language. Language English my is first. If we compare both the sentences, we see that the first one makes complete sense and the second one doesn't. Just like the grammar of every other language, there is an order of words in English grammar too. So now comes the question, what is this order? To understand this, remember SVO word order. So what is this SVO word order? It's subject, verb, object. In English grammar, most sentences follow this rule of thumb. The subject comes first, then comes the verb, followed by the object. Now take a look at these examples. I am eating the sandwich. Here I is the subject, am eating is the verb, the sandwich is the object. She likes the book. She is the subject, likes is the verb, the book is the object. Now let us move on to clauses. So what are clauses? For that, let's take a look at the following sentences. Those who are sitting on the last bench are the tallest in the class. You cannot use a calculator when you give a math exam. Everyone ran out of the class as soon as the bell rang. So, a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. In the sentences that you saw above, the words in black represent clauses since they have the subject-verb component in them. Now, clauses can be classified into two parts. Let us see what those are. Independent and subordinate. Independent clause has a subject and a verb, represents a complete thought, can stand on its own, whereas a subordinate clause begins with a subordinated conjunction, has a subject and a verb, does not represent a complete thought, and cannot stand on its own. So children, keep in mind that an independent clause is also known as main or principal clause, and a subordinate clause as a dependent clause. Let us see some examples. Independent clause. That woman can lift a car. Suraj raced to victory in the last lap. A ray of sunlight lighted the dark and gloomy forest. Now some examples of subordinate clause. That woman can lift a car because she is very strong. In spite of facing initial setbacks, Suraj raced to victory in the last lap. After it had rained heavily, a ray of sunlight lighted the dark and gloomy forest. So here we conclude the first lesson. In our next lesson, we will see classification of subordinate clauses.
Hello children. Today we will know about classification of subordinate clauses. There are three kinds of subordinate clauses: noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. The first one is noun clause. A noun clause does the work of a noun. Most often it is object of a verb or complement of a verb. Examples: he said that he would come at 5. Object of said. I heard that she was ill. Object of heard. I wonder whether that's a good idea. Object of wonder. The truth is that he has cheated us. Complement of is. The idea is that we take it in turns. Complement of is. The problem was that they didn't have any money. Complement of was. Now the next one is adjective clause. An adjective clause, like an adjective, describes or modifies a noun or pronoun and is introduced by a relative pronoun who, which, that, whom, or a relative adverb when, where, why. An adjective clause is also called a relative clause. Examples: this is the man who saved your brother from drowning. Modifies man. I want to borrow a novel that is not too long. Modifies novel. The book which I am looking for has a red cover. Tells us about book. The next one is adverb clause. An adverb clause, like an adverb, adds to the meaning of a verb, an adjective or an adverb. Examples: the film started before we arrived. Modifies started, that is, tells when the film started. He is taller than I thought. Modifies taller, that is, tells us how tall he is. That's all for today.